Welcome, Housemaster Users here, and today we are reviewing Tiny. So, this movie. This is something I've known about since I was 6/7. And when I first saw a bit of a brief snippet of it during an Ice Age 2 trailer, I think it was, I remember seeing this movie shot called Tiny, which was set in space, and and as a kid who was 6, you love space. You were excited to give us a go. It looked pretty cool. Over the year, but I never got to watch it till I was about 13, 14. And to be honest, all I eventually knew up until that point was made by the same guys that made Anastasia. But I never knew who directed it. Until later through internet celebrities I learned about the director Don Bluth. Don Bluth, an interesting person. Well, perhaps one of the most legendary animators in the world. This is his 10th and final film he ever released in theaters. I mean, he's done other stuff too, but in terms of theatrically released movies, this is his last currently. And, well, released in 2000, and this brought the end of his second studio, Fox Animation Studios, when he was directly partnered with Fox. Now, so before we go on to some of the reasons why this is a failure, but let's move on to the story. So, the film takes place in the year 3028. Well, an alien race known as the Dredge have blown up the Earth. They fear it because of a project called Titan, which has the ability to, with a large amount of energy, to create a brand new world for humans, a brand new planet. Now 15 years later, the Titan's missing, and the only way to find it is through a ring that has a genetic code to it. And the only person who can activate it is the project leader's son, Kale, he doesn't know about it yet, but is shown about the map that resides within his DNA and ring by Captain Caruso, who was an old friend of his father's. Along with another human named Akima, they and Kale go on an adventure to find the time and create a brand new world for humans while avoiding the Dredge, while having some wacky alien characters also help them out, part of Caruso's crew. So, let's start and talk about what does work. Well, by any Don Bluth movie, his animation is great. I mean, I've talked about how you can tell Don Bluth's style when I did my Dragon's Lair video in 2019, and the style, well, it's a bit more realistic and gritty. It still matches Don Bluth's style that you all know and love. I think it's a bit of an upgrade from what you saw in Anastasia, so yeah, it's a good lot of animation. The action scenes are pretty good. Space battles and laser fights, they're all great. I love this. The colors are also pretty good in this. I mean, the backgrounds are still in 2D and they look absolutely amazing. I mean, they do really, really well, the colors. The voice acting is great. I mean, you've got some great actors involved in this. Matt Damon, Drew Barrymore, Janine Garofalo, John Leguizamo, Nathan Lane, and Bill Pullman, I think it is. So you've got a great cast. Throw in the Dredge, which is probably my favorite thing in this. Not only are their designs amazing, I mean, and the animation, both CG and 2D, is meshed well together. They are really threatening, and their language is actually pretty creative. I would say the Dredge are the best characters in it. So let's lead on to the cons. So yeah, let's be Now there is a lot of problems in this, so I'll just refresh the music and then we'll get on to the problems. So, what are the problems in this? Well, let's start off with the story. Not to say the story is bad, but it's imperfect, you know? I mean, you could make this really good, but it feels like it's rushed, and they just recycle elements from other movies. Sci-fi movies, that is. But I can't really... I'm going to explain a bit more about this later, but we'll get to that later. And while I like the Dredge and some of the characters, I mean, like Akima's pretty cool, and I think Janine Garofalo's character is also nice, but Kale is very bland and very cocky. Kuroso, while he is a great character, they start showing him as one direction of sort of a character, then they change to another direction. So yeah, that and just seems formulaic. Nathan Lane's character is very smug and cocky, and John Leguizamo's alien is can be really annoying. And yeah, that's basically it in terms of the characters. The CGI in this. Now, there is a lot of CGI in this, and it's very hit and miss. Some things look good, like effects with crystals and that. The Titan itself looks pretty good, and the CG effects on the Dredge are fine. But stuff like the planets, the surfaces, and spacesuits and weapons and vehicles, they do not look good. I mean, some spaceships look fine, but pods, not really. Well, on the plus side, this was actually the first anime feature that Blue Sky Studios ever truly worked on. At that point, when they were still a computer animation studio for effects, they only worked in live action like Alien Resurrection, Star Trek Insurrection, and Fight Club. And Joe's Apartment. But this was their first anime movie they ever worked on. I mean, they did animation with their CG film Bunny, but this was the first anime film they worked on, and through this they became Fox's CGI animation studio. But, and we'll talk more about that later. Yeah, but you can't really talk about this without going over why it failed. I mean, this was a huge flop at the box office, and basically shut down Fox's 2D animation studio, which forced them to give up on 2D and just focus on CGI, which is where Blue Sky comes in. So what sort of went wrong? Well, let's start with the script itself, because this got tossed around a lot. Until this was even meant to be an anime movie, it was meant to be a live action film. And here's the thing, it only went to Don Bluth and Gary Goldman because they didn't have anything to work on. So they're not really that keen on the sci-fi genre to begin with, but they took the script regardless so they actually would have something to work on. Because at that point, all they were making was the direct-to-video sequel to Anastasia, Bartok the Magnificent, briefly working on a TV series, which I forget what it's called, and doing some final line animation for The Prince of Egypt. But so that's one problem. Plus, and another reason why I failed is not just you don't know. It's hard to tell what this film is for hardcore sci-fi fans or kids. And when you look at who made the film, you've got Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, who, they did that computer game Space Ace. They're not really focused on adult sci-fi stuff. They're more known for stuff like Land Before Time, Secret of Nim, American Tail, Anastasia, and All Dogs Go to Heaven, and throw on that bad, corny kids stuff. Like Rockadoodle, Thumbelina, Troll in Central Park, and Pebble and the Penguin. And as for the writers were the guy who wrote The Tick, and Joss Whedon, who at that point, well, yeah, he did work on Toy Story, was well known for doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So yeah, that's one reason. Those are some reasons as to why this film did actually fail. And it's a shame too. And at that point, Bluth and Goldman were actually working on an anime movie, were offered the chance to make another anime movie called Ice Age. But of course they rejected it because the studio got closed down, so they handed it over to Blue Sky. Yeah, so yeah, that's basically how it went. It all went pear-shaped. Look, but in the end, Tiny, despite being forgotten, and it has a cult following, a lot of people still don't like it, specifically Bluth fans. I mean, the Nostalgia Critic basically stated that he feels, and a lot of people do, that after the release of All Dogs Go to Heaven, everything that came after from the 90s onwards was basically weren't really that good. I mean, yeah, I can tell that with Rockadoodle to Pebble and Penguin. Anastasia has got fans, but people just see it as him just ripping off Disney for Fox, and people feel this, if they don't hate it, it's just a rip, trying to be what's popular at the time with CGI, sci-fi and CGI movies. But honestly, I still think give us a chance. It's got a good. It's not bad. It's not good, but Don Bluth fans definitely should watch it. Fans of animation of animated sci-fi movies should give it a go. It's a quiet taste, but I don't see the reason why Tiny should be forgotten. In fact, at the moment, it's not even on Disney Plus. I think this deserves a chance. In the end, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 half stars. Man, I've done this is my third 7.5 for this channel in a row. Whew. What is me with this number? Well, I mean, this score, I should say. So, what will be next? Well, I don't know, really. I've got a few things in mind. Video game reviews. And, well, a special movie review. Plus, there is something else I might also do. I'm not really sure if I've decided if I'll do it. For what it is, there's still a lot to look forward to. And well, there is still plenty to do, especially with Don Bluth of all things. I mean, I can definitely look at, say, Anastasia and some of his other stuff. I mean, plus, who knows? Maybe I might do something with this. I mean, I don't think I'm done exactly with Tiny at this very moment. I'm not sure what I'm thinking of, but let's just say there is still a bit to do with this. Maybe I'm just going to compare it to something that was released around that time and see if it's, stands better than its competition. I can't really say what it is. I just got to figure it out. And yeah, I mean, as I said, there's plenty of things to talk about with Don Bluth films. Not to mention, maybe there's a couple of other things I might actually do, including a look back at someone of an old collaborator of Don Bluth. I'm not just going to say what it is yet. I just need to do research and see if I really want to talk about it, because this is a really touchy subject. You might know what I'm talking about. But in the meantime, I'll see you for my next review. So in the meantime, Handsome House is out. And let's pray our next destination is higher than 7.5. Ciao.